All right, welcome to this explainer. If you're the kind of person who just loves to cut through the noise and get straight to the nuts and bolts of how things actually work, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving into the absolute ultimate cheat codes for escaping the traditional life trap. We're going to break down the core secrets from Robert Kiyosaki's legendary book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but we're specifically translating them into a master plan that you can start using literally today, well before you ever even step foot into the traditional adult workforce. Okay, so imagine growing up with two dads. One's got a PhD, he works incredibly hard at a very respectable job, makes a pretty decent salary, yet he's constantly stressed out about paying the bills. On the flip side, the other dad never even finished middle school, but he's one of the wealthiest men in Hawaii, owns multiple businesses, and basically just has his money working for him while he relaxes, right? It's crazy. This is the real tale of two dads that the author Robert Kiyosaki actually experienced, and he chose to listen to the wealthy dropout, who was his best friend's dad, by the way, to build his own empire. So today, we are going to unpack exactly what that rich dad taught him. Level 1, escaping the rat race. Now, to solve a problem, you first have to actually understand the problem, right? And the big overarching issue that traps like 99% of adults in this endless cycle of exhausting work is something the rich dad calls the rat race. You know the drill. Society pushes this very specific path on us from day one. Get good grades, go to college to take on a bunch of student debt, and then land a quote-unquote safe, secure job. You start making money, but then what happens? You immediately buy a new car or a bigger house to look successful. Suddenly, you've got massive bills. So what do? You work harder to get a raise. And when you finally make more money, you just end up buying more expensive things. That's lifestyle inflation in a nutshell. You end up like this highly caffeinated hamster, running incredibly fast on a wheel, totally exhausted but literally going nowhere until you're 65 years old. So you gotta ask, why do so many genuinely smart people stay stuck on that hamster wheel? Well, it's because they trade their time for a paycheck, and they're under the control of two really intense emotions, fear and greed. The fear of being broke forces people to cling to that safe job. But then greed, or just simple desire, compels them to spend that hard-earned paycheck immediately on instant gratification. You know, the newest iPhone, designer clothes, a flashy car. But the rich, they do not play this game. They don't work for money. They figure out how to make money work for them. Instead of working 40 hours just to buy a pair of sneakers, they build systems that generate money automatically. Which brings us to level 2, assets versus liabilities. Listen, if you take away only one single concept from this entire explainer today, it absolutely needs to be this: the most important rule of the game. It is not about how much money you make. It is entirely about how much you keep. Let's break it down. An asset puts money in your pocket, whether you're working or sleeping. Think stocks, a neighborhood lawn care business, or royalties. A liability, on the other hand, takes money out of your pocket. Car payments, monthly subscriptions, expensive jewelry, and yeah, even your own personal house. Why? Because it demands property taxes, maintenance, and electricity without actually paying you an income. The secret formula here is super simple. Poor people buy expenses. The middle class buys liabilities that they mistakenly think are assets, like a brand new Mercedes, and they just drown in debt. Rich people buy assets, and then they use the income generated by those assets to fund their luxuries. You gotta shift your brain. Instead of buying a $60 video game, what if you bought a lawnmower, an asset, to start a business? Moving right along to level 3, minding your own business. You'll often hear this classic advice from the rich dad to mind your own business. Now, actually, scratch that. It doesn't mean you need to stop being nosy. The crucial point here is really understanding the difference between your profession and your business. Look, if someone is a banker, banking is usually their profession. It pays the bills. But unless they literally own the bank, it's not their business. School is designed to train you for a profession so you can go make someone else rich. Your true business is your asset column. Even if you get a totally normal 9-to-5 job, you keep that daytime job, sure, but you mind your own business by building your investments and assets on the side. And building that business, that unlocks what is basically the ultimate adult cheat code. See, as an employee, you earn money, the government takes taxes out before you even see a dime of it, and then you try to live on whatever's left over. But as a business owner, the business earns money. It spends money on legal expenses, like laptops, travel, whatever the business legitimately needs, and the government only taxes what is left over at the very end. The wealthy use corporations to legally protect their money. Financial intelligence is power, guys. Without it, the system just takes advantage of you. All right, level 4, work to learn. The rich definitely don't just sit around waiting for opportunities to magically fall into their laps. They look at the world, they see problems, and they invent money using their minds. Kiyosaki calls this your financial IQ, and it's built on 4 main pillars: accounting, which is reading the numbers; investing, which is making money make money; markets, understanding supply and demand; and law, knowing the rules of the game. When you build up these 4 pillars, you can spot a good deal from a mile away while everyone else is completely distracted. Now, this shift in financial IQ actually starts with your vocabulary. Saying "I can't afford that" is straight up the poor dad's mindset. It completely shuts your brain down. But simply asking, "How can I afford that?" that forces your brain to wake up, go to work, and actually invent solutions. And what this means practically is you have to completely rethink why you even get a job in the first place. You really shouldn't just be working for a paycheck. Kiyosaki actually took a job selling copy machines once, not because he had some deep passion for copiers, but because he was terrified of rejection, and he knew he absolutely needed to master sales. Once he became the top salesman, he quit. He got the exact skill he needed. So if you get a job at a fast food place, don't just complain about making minimum wage. Study their unbelievable inventory systems. Learn how the managers handle angry customers. You are literally getting paid to learn business, leadership, sales, and communication.
Level 5. Overcoming the 5 obstacles.
Because look, even if you have a sky-high financial IQ, there are these 5 massive boss battles that stop most people from ever getting rich. Let's rapid fire through these roadblocks. First up is fear, being so completely terrified of losing money that you just never invest. Second is cynicism, listening to all the haters who tell you your ideas are never going to work. Third is laziness. And by the way, the most common form of laziness is actually staying incredibly busy at a job you hate just to avoid the hard work of building your own wealth. Fourth is arrogance, which is really just ego combined with ignorance. But arguably the absolute most dangerous is bad habits. Poor people pay everyone else first, the landlord, the credit card company, and they save whatever tiny bit is left over. Rich people, they pay themselves first. They put money straight into their assets immediately. The pressure of having to figure out how to pay their bills afterwards actually forces them to find creative new ways to make even more money.
Which brings us to our final stage, Level 6, the Teen Action Plan.
It is time to wake up that financial genius right now with a highly practical, real-world, 10-step plan you can use today. Step 1. You gotta start with a strong why, like genuinely wanting to travel the world, or just refusing to have a boss tell you what to do. Step 2 is about daily choices, choosing to level up your financial literacy instead of spending hours mindlessly scrolling. Step 3, you become the average of the 5 people you hang around, so actively choose ambitious friends. Step 4, master one formula for making money, like reselling clothes online, and once you've got that down, learn a new one, like index funds. And step 5 is non-negotiable. The literal second you get an allowance or a paycheck, invest 10 to 20% of it immediately. Pay yourself first. Do not touch it. Finishing out the action steps. Step 6, make sure you pay good financial professionals well later in life. Step 7, always try to get your initial investment money back as fast as possible so you're playing with house money. Now, step 8 is a total game changer. If you want a car when you turn 16, do not drain all your hard-earned savings. Create a side hustle that makes, say, $300 a month and use that new asset to pay for the luxury. Step 9, choose heroes to study. Analyze great investors the exact same way an athlete studies a pro. And finally, step 10, teach others what you learn, because sharing that knowledge reinforces your own mastery of it. Ultimately, guys, this isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about a complete rewiring of your brain. Society basically wants you to be this good little employee who borrows money to buy things you don't even need just to impress people you don't even like. The challenge for you today is to reject that rat race. By truly understanding assets versus liabilities and actually making your money work for you, you set yourself up for a life of absolute freedom. So the final question you really need to ask yourself right now is this: are you going to keep working for money, or will you start inventing ways for your money to work for you? Start small, build those assets, and I promise your future self will thank you.
Please like and subscribe.